What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. Scott ain't here. His brother Tim got married this weekend. Congratulations to Tim. Tim has been on this podcast in the form of voicemails. So nice job on getting married. But Scott was on big brother duties this weekend. So he's not going to be on this episode. My friend Kevin, who surprisingly also has been on this podcast. I've got Logan and Ilya with me. So I don't know if you guys were listening to the show back in the 2018 playoff run, but when the Yankees played the Red Sox, my friend Kevin is from Massachusetts, so he's a big Red Sox fan. He was visiting me in New York City because we were going to Game 3, which was at Yankee Stadium. So he arrived at my apartment just in time to see the Yankees shellac David Price. And then he was sitting next to me as I was recording the podcast with Scott. And of course, we've got a sad Red Sox fan next to us, so we brought him on the show. And we lambasted him, not thinking that the Yankees were going to get absolutely trounced the rest of the way. So I don't know. I think he takes credit for turning the Red Sox series around. Unfortunately, congratulations to my friend Kevin. Congratulations to Tim, Logan, Ilya. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
What's up?
It's going well. The Yankees, I mean, I guess quietly, because everyone was just focused on Aaron Judge, swept the homestand. And that's obviously a positive to take away from it, is that they are not going to be stumbling to the division. You just need to win one game in Toronto, and you can clinch that division. And I think that just is going to be a little bit of a weight off of people and make them forget about the snowball effect that we all thought was happening, where this team looked like it might be fighting for its playoff lives in the last week of the season. But Logan, the fact that they won all the games on the homestand and now they only have to win one in Toronto, I think is a huge positive.
No, 100%. And I mean, quietly 9 games up in the division now in the loss column. Like, when did that happen? I mean, we're going to look back on this and there's kind of not going to be a collapse that we remember, hopefully.
Right.
And 94 wins. I mean, they got to go 6-4 in their last 10 to win 100. I mean, it's good things all around.
Ilya, we'll only remember that they blew the 15.5 game lead if this team gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs, or it just looks terrible in the postseason. And then people will talk about the division came down to the wire pretty much. But if that doesn't happen, like, you just look back at the standings and you're like, oh yeah, they cruised to the finish.
I think they've handled the division and sort of, even if they're out of the first round at this point, I think there's going to be a bigger story than the division, because as far as the seeding goes, I mean, so where we're taking the Guardians or the Mariners at this point. And then the other end is the Blue Jays and the Rays. And although, yeah, I mean, you could make your argument for any team, and I'm sure we will at some point in the future. But I think if they get kicked out of the first round, there's going to be a bigger issue than where they landed in the standings.
Yeah, the fact that it is shaping up to look like the Astros are going to have to play the winner of the Rays, or the Blue Jays and the Yankees are going to have to play the winner of the Guardians or the Mariners is a huge win, okay? It's like, yeah, obviously it would have been great to get that number 1 seed, because if and when they do have to play a championship series on the road in Houston, that's going to suck. But at least for the first round of the playoffs, if you're picking who you would rather play, the winner of what series you would rather play, which I kind of remember when the baseball was going through the different iterations of the playoffs, and they were going to do this thing where you could like pick your opponent.
Yeah,
I knew it was never going to happen, but that would have been awesome just for the drama of it. If the Yankees were ever in a position to pick their opponent, I don't think they would pick to play the Rays or the Blue Jays, just because when it's your division opponent, and especially those two teams have handled you at some point over the past couple of years, you would never pick those teams over the Guardians or the Mariners.
No, and you just look silly if you lose to them. It's just you picked your guys in your division and you lost. It's
right.
That was when last year when they were doing that tie-breaking scenarios, and they were like, yeah, we'll take the Red Sox, and like that totally was bulletin board material, like up in the clubhouse for the wild card game. And I mean, I know I'm gonna sound like such a spoiled Yankee fan right now, but like I feel like it's been like forever since I watched them play like real postseason games. In a way, I guess it kind of has. I mean, 2020 doesn't even count to anybody in anything. They weren't real. They were in San Diego. Like, what even was that? So
yeah, there were cardboard cutouts in the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm excited. I mean, 2019, like, I mean, how exciting was 2019? And the Bronx is going to be buzzing.
It seems like ages ago. Yeah, you're right. It seems like ages ago that they actually played, because the last 2 years of this team hasn't felt like they really had a serious chance to win the championship. And even if you convinced yourself of it, you quickly learned that it was not a real chance. Last time that people truly believed this team could win the World Series, I think, was 2019. But the stadium has been buzzing because of Judge. And I guess we'll start with that Thursday game, the most electrifying warning track flyout in baseball history. I mean, the cameraman obviously fooled everyone. I thought that ball was landing on the subway tracks. I was in California watching on my phone, fist pumping to exactly nobody as he hit that ball. That would have been a pretty poetic way to get number 61 on a walk-off into Monument Park. But since then, it hasn't really felt like. I guess it's felt like. I mean, even Boone said this, that Judge has been pressing Ilya.
Yeah, he definitely. I think he wanted to get it at home. Hopefully, now that they're on the road, the pressure's off a little bit. I thought that was gone for sure. I looked like an idiot jumping up and down.
He wanted to get it at home, but also he wouldn't have had. What's bigger, number 61 or 62? Like 62 is bigger.
I think 62 is bigger, which I think that means that he's going to hit one on the road and then
come back.
They still have three. They still have 3 more games at home against the Orioles.
Yeah,
and they're not going to matter for anything. I mean, they're not. I mean, after they clinch the division and they win, 1 game or 2, presumably, they're not. These games mean literally nothing. I mean, they can't move. They can't go to 3. They can't go to 1. I mean, they're just gonna play the bullpen game and they're gonna try and see, well, is Zach Britton here? Is Scott Efros here? Is Chapman around, or are we going to DFA him? Like, that's the shit they're going to figure out. They're not going to be worried about anything else.
Guys are going to get rest. Judge is probably going to get a lot of DH days until he hits number 62, which could be tomorrow for all we know, or today. If he was going, because back when he was crushing balls in Milwaukee, you're like, wow, if he has like a hot homestand, maybe he can sniff 70 like in that last weekend of the season, because like that's how locked in he was and what it looked like. But obviously now he's going to end up with somewhere in the 63, 64, 65 range, which means nothing, honestly, right? Like, I saw, I even got a kick out of this Reddit post. It was a college football fan complaining that ESPN was cutting into the game. I think it was the Ohio State game with Judge at bats. And they were like, I'm confused. Hasn't this record been broken like 6 times? And it's like, yeah, it kind of has. Okay. From a college football fan's perspective, I kind of get that.
I don't know if you guys noticed on Saturday, they were like, every time that Judge came up, like they went to like the wide camera and Michael K was like, to everybody joining us around the country, welcome to the Yes Network. And we were like, I was like, oh wow, this is a thing. This is exciting. Like, I feel like I'm a part of something.
It's exciting for us, right? Like, I was glued to every single Judge at bat. I don't think the baseball world was glued to every single Judge at bat. You guys agree?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was up Friday night and I was pretty much glued to the screen watching every Pujols at bat. I mean, it might have just been circumstantial that I was up and I was watching it.
Yeah.
But I guess I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. But I mean, like, it's a thing that I mean, people who aren't huge baseball fans, huge Yankee fans, they're paying attention. I mean, it's more than just like Yankee fans talking about it. I feel like people know, like,
I think we're in a bubble.
It's changed. Things have changed. People are not turning on their TV to look at it, but people
100%.
are refreshing their Twitter feed to find the video.
So, Logan, remind everyone how old you were in 1998.
I was negative 10 years old.
Ilya, how old were you in 1998?
was 3 years old.
Okay, so I was 10 in 1998. Scott was 46 in 1998. And it's, I mean, none of us cared or knew really about the steroid stuff back then. And there were a couple articles written about it, but no one cared about that. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa at bats in the late summer, late August, early September of 1998 were like presidential addresses. That's the level of like viewership they were getting. It was on every single channel. I remember sitting down, no matter what, no matter where Mark McGwire was, I was watching his at bat. Now, again, I even was a massive baseball fan at that point. So like I wasn't the norm. I'm not saying I was the norm. But like that was not the case, I don't even think, by 2001. Now, there were other factors there. By the time Bonds was breaking the single season home run record in 2001, 9/11 had already happened. So people were just like, you know what? I don't care about this balloon head hitting home runs into McCovey Cove. Like there's other things going on. But I don't know. I certainly know that Judge's chase right now is not at that level, and nor should it be. I want him to break Maris's record because, again, I'm a Yankees fan, and it's been great drama these past couple of weeks. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he has the single season home run record.
Yeah, he doesn't have the record, and there are people out there debating it. It's the record's the record. What he's doing is still special, and it's the American League record and the team record, and that's still incredible.
American League record, come on.
But it's not.
It's more special to me that it's the Yankee record than the American League record.
Of course, and it's special that the fact that it looks like the team is starting to play better, and that I think a part of this is also people in the back of their mind. They're like, there's a not that slim chance this is Judge's last season with the Yankees. Like if something funky happens in the offseason with free agency and he's gone, like this is our last hurrah with Aaron Judge. And so I think that's also part of it. And so I just think like the contract, the Yankee record, the fact that the team, I do believe that because the Yankees have started to play better when we enter the postseason, everyone's going to be on board with this team can win a World Series, even if we might dissect it and have a slightly different opinion there. But I think all of those are adding up to that's why Yankees fans are obsessing over this. And I'm right there with them.
Did you guys hear, I mean, Andrew, I doubt you did, but on Friday night when the game was on Apple, they were talking to the Maris family, and they asked, I think Roger Maris Jr., like, do the Yankees have anything planned for when he breaks the record? And his answer was yes. So, like, what are they going to do? Like, is this part of like, trying to make Judge feel extra special?
I'll tell you what they're gonna do, Logan. They're gonna tweet out pictures of number 62 hats and T-shirts so they can sell them in the Yankees fan shop for $62.62.
They will do that, and we will all buy them.
Yeah, that's what they have planned. I think. Do you think they would stop the game?
No, I think.
Would
I do.
the Yankees stop the game, or would maybe just like the circumstances of like people applauding and the other team maybe allowing for it to happen stop the game? That's why, again, if it was like a walk-off home run, I know that was only to tie the record, but if he did it in like a walk-off home run fashion, then it's like, okay, great, the game's over anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to stop the game on purpose, but I mean, it's going to get stopped one way or another.
So, of course they have something planned. I was watching a little bit on the Apple broadcast, which is pretty bad. You know what it's like?
So bad.
It's like people. It's like people who know 10% about baseball calling a baseball game, and I'm just like, how is this where we landed? Like, how did Apple decide that these are going to be the broadcasters calling the game? No, I'm not saying that. People always complain that national broadcasts aren't as good as local broadcasts. Yeah, no shit, because the national announcers don't follow the team every single day like Michael Kay does, okay? Like, you can't expect whoever, I know Joe Buck's not doing baseball games anymore, but when people always shit all over Joe Buck, I didn't hate Joe Buck calling baseball. He knew baseball at least. Like, maybe he didn't know every last guy in the Yankees bullpen, but at least he could speak to the game of baseball. And then it's like you got these Apple announcers. It just sounds like they've never watched a baseball game in their life. And that's what that's why I think the broadcast is extra bad. Don't even, get me started on the technology aspect of it and the glitchiness of it. The sound messed up for you guys as well? It would go from couldn't hear it to blaring.
I wasn't watching.
Okay. You were playing a show.
Yeah.
No,
Logan,
I mean,
did you have a sound issue?
I didn't have any sound issues, but I'll tell you, me and my dad, we were watching, and we were just kind of talking about the probabilities in the quoting. And I know we talk about this every time that they have an Apple TV broadcast, but like one at bat, like it was like it was a ground into double play probability, and it went 0-1, and the probability went down, and then it went 0-2, and the probability went up to further than it was when it was 0-0. And I was like, what's the math on that? Like, how does this even make any sense? I don't understand where those probabilities come from. But I mean, there's probably someone smarter than us trying to do some algorithm to make it, but still, I don't get it.
So they also had the home run probability, and I believe it was Jose Trevino at the plate, and it said 5% home run probability, and then it had Aaron Judge at the plate, and it also said 5% home run.
Like,
probability.
no way.
And I don't care what the count says. That's not true. Okay, they're not equally at 5% home run probability. So yeah, I would like to know where what nerds are behind those metrics.
It's just going to be great next year when people have to pay for Apple TV to watch these games, and then people are going to get really hot because technically it was free this year, and now people are going to have to pay next year.
Was it okay? So I already had Apple TV, so I didn't even know that it was.
So
free.
if you have an Apple device, an Apple ID of any sort, you can watch the games for free all year. That was part of like the deal. And everybody made it a big deal, like, but because it's hard to get whatever. But next year, like, you're gonna have Apple TV Plus, which is gonna be a issue for some people.
Peacock games have been not free though, right? Like, because I had to also create a Peacock account to watch those games. Although, have the Yankees played? They've only played like
just one
Peacock game.
I hated every second of that 11:30 game.
I like breakfast baseball.
God,
Peacock, Apple, Amazon.
Prime.
Those are the three. I'm sure there'll be
I mean, obviously, and then they do ESPN, Fox. Yes. Right. Too many.
So the another, I guess positive takeaway, as everyone was just focusing on Judge, is that the starting pitching, not named Garrett Cole, really had a pretty good weekend. We'll get to Garrett Cole. Don't worry, Logan. And one interesting thing here as we start to look ahead to the playoffs, we were talking about this ahead of time, is they are going to need 4 starting pitchers in that division series. It's weird. So Logan, go through the days off and when they are, because it's not normal.
Yeah. It kind of needs to be like talked about. So they play game 1, and then they have an off day. And basically the easiest way to like kind of talk about why they're doing this is because of the lockout. They are starting both division series, the ALDS and the NLDS, on the same day. So in order to break up so that there's not a game, they like when there's a game every day. So they start on the 11th, and there's 4 games. There's all 4 ALDS, all 4 division series start on the 11th. So they play the 11th, and then they have a day off. And they play the 13th. Again, it'll be at home. And then they have another day off to travel. And then they play 15, 16, which is normal. And then there's no day off if it was to be a game 5, which is important because they could play the Mariners. And that's a problem.
That's a red-eye flight home, okay? Like, you're playing a West Coast night game, probably starting around 5 p.m. West Coast time. So that thing is ending, somewhere in the 9 o'clock hour on the West Coast. You're getting on a flight and you're landing at 6, 7 in the morning in New York to play a 7 or an 8 p.m. game that night, game 5.
Yeah, and so basically because of that, though, they play the 13th, and then they play 15, 16, 17. So the game 1 starter really isn't going to be on regular rest until game 5.
So there would be only a situation, I think, where Garrett Cole would come back for game 4 if they're facing elimination, right? Like, that's the decision that they're going to have to make.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
That'd be 4 days rest.
No,
that'd be short rest.
No, it would be 5 days rest. Well, if you pitched
5
on the
days
11th.
rest for game 5?
If you pitched on the 11th, 12, 13, 14, 15. He would pitch on the 16th. So that would be 5 days
Okay.
rest. So
So
they
you
could
don't
bring him
need.
back for the game 4. So they shouldn't need 4 starters.
Well, you would need, but then the game 2 pitcher would be on short rest for game 5.
Well, it would be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yes, exactly. That's what it is.
So
they would need
the risk that you're running if you run Garrett Cole out there on regular rest is that if you don't clinch it on that day, you are then with no off days, you're throwing out not your best pitcher on short rest. And now they might decide, okay, we get 3 or 4 innings out of Nestor Cortez and then go to the bullpen, and that's okay. But if the bullpen had just pitched, 5 innings the day before or something like that, then you're kind of in a tough spot. But I think in that scenario, you almost have to pitch Garrett Cole on his regular rest in game 4, kind of regardless of the
because
wins,
it's going to be an
2-1
important
or
game
1-2
anyway.
in the series.
It you try to win it there so you don't have to deal with it, and then by the time you roll back around to the ALCS at that point, if you clinched it on that game 4, Cole would probably be ready for like a game 2. If not a game 3, because again, game 2 is a day later than it normally would be in the ALCS. So there would be another extra day in there because there's a day off in between games 1 and 2 of the ALCS as well. So it all kind of goes into the math equation.
So Ilya, let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your confidence level in Garrett Cole pitching either a game 1, a game 4, or a game 5 in the division series? Because again, with not a great outing against the Red Sox, he's given up, I believe, 31 home runs now this season, second in Major League Baseball.
The
long pause.
It's been a roller coaster this year with Cole. Game 1, there's a lot of like extra things they do at the beginning of the game. There's a lot of excitement, so I don't feel confident in that.
Well, this is what you do. You just tell him that the start is at like 8:22 p.m. and not at 8:05 p.m.
Don't tell Severino.
But if you go early, you're screwed. If you go early, he's not prepped. He's not ready. He's like, I can't go yet. I can't do it. So you got to get it. I feel like you got like a minute or 2 window there for Cole. Game 4, game 5, not as many festivities. We'll see. He's a good pitcher.
Level?
He's a good pitcher.
I know,
but the confidence is not there right now. The confidence can't be there. Anyone who says I have confidence in Cole because he's an ace and because he's one of the top pitchers, you can't have confidence in him right now.
My argument has never been that Garrett Cole is not a good pitcher. I sit there and I watch him give up home run after home run, and then what happened on Friday where he doesn't get a call by the umpire, which everyone being honest with themselves knows that was not a strike. That was below the strike zone. Yeah. Okay. Garrett Cole thought it was strike 3. Clearly he thought it was strike 3. He took a couple steps to the dugout, but it wasn't, dude. Do not groove a fastball belt high to Verdugo, who is going to punish you. Okay. You just can't do that. So whether it's the fact that he was pissed about the non-call by the umpire, or he had a little lapse in judgment, or just executed a bad pitch, right? Like that also just happens. Sometimes you just execute a bad pitch. That all adds up to me not having the most confidence in the world in Garrett Cole. And Logan, I know you're a huge Garrett Cole guy, but I don't see how you can have full confidence in him after what we've seen over the past 2.5, 3 months.
Full confidence? No. I'd be lying if I said that I had full confidence. Now, I'm also not the person that says, oh, well, he doesn't have sticky stuff, he sucks now, because that's not fair. I know he didn't pitch well in the wild card game last year. I think that I tend to err on the side of that was a hamstring, not a sticky stuff problem, because he was good up until that he had that hamstring issue and then was bad in his last couple starts and then in the wild card game. I just want to correct myself. There is no day off in between ALCS games 1 and 2. There's no days off practically at all in the ALCS. They play like every day in a row.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all in a row. So that's another conversation for another day. But
let's get there first.
Look, Garrett Cole, he should start game 1. He should get the ball as many times, and it's just what frustrates me the most.
Game 1? Why should he start game 1 and not Nestor Cortez?
Because I mean, that's what you pay him for, and I know that's
Okay,
a
that's
stupid
okay, but
argument. I know that's a stupid argument.
I agree with you. You have to start him in game one. If they don't start him in game one, then that's a whole big story, and I don't think he can handle a whole big story. So I think that would even just more negatively impact him. But all else being equal, you put those two pitchers in a vacuum. Nestor Cortes has outpitched Garrett Cole this season.
100%. Now, Garrett Cole, he what frustrates me the most about him is he is so clearly his own worst enemy. That's what it comes down to. I mean, we talk about Billy Crystal, we talk about the fan running on the field, we talk about the IKF error in Anaheim, we talk about the missed call this past game. He thinks for some reason that when something doesn't go his way, he should just start grooving fastballs and try and throw it harder than he ever can. And it's like the whole scouting report goes out the window. So to me, it's like it's such an I don't want to use the word easy because pitching's not easy, but it's such a minor fix when you really think about it, that he's just such a mental midget in that regard. And for someone who's so prepped and so prompt the way he is, it's like, dude, what like this? It's so uncharacteristic when you really think about him as a pitcher. I mean, the work, and you hear the way the guy talks. Like he puts in more time and effort to the non-pitching stuff, probably more than any pitcher in baseball. So it's like, how do you let this stuff bother you so bad and then like throw everything that you do out the window?
See, and I think on the one hand, you're right that it's not a talent problem. Obviously, it's not a preparation problem. It's a mental problem. But that's almost more concerning than if it was a talent or a preparation problem, because that's harder to fix. It might sound easier to fix, but the way to fix that is that Garrett Cole just needs to get past that, either through performance or through deciding it's not going to bother me anymore. To go back to the David Price analogy, or to David Price situation in 2018 that I talked about at the start, he sucked for the Red Sox in the playoffs, and he sucked in big games historically, and he got beat out of the game. The Yankees hit 3 home runs, I believe, off of him. There was that classic shot of Judge taking him deep over the monster, and David Price throwing his head back in frustration. Then he came back after that and pitched lights out the rest of the postseason for the playoffs. So he got past it. He exercised his demons and was able to perform on the biggest stage. It was not a talent problem with David
but he never
Price.
got past the Yankees. He had a Yankee problem. He never had a talent. I know he had a postseason problem, but his problem was more that he couldn't beat the Yankees.
He had a big game problem though. He couldn't. He lost
the Yankees though.
I know that, but the Red Sox got past the Yankees, so he didn't have a chance to pitch again against the Yankees. But he stunk in the playoffs for the Red Sox against other teams. He stunk in the big games. I think he lost a big game for Toronto when he got traded there, and then didn't get a playoff start, or something was weird where like they didn't trust him in a playoff situation after he was traded there. He struggled in big spots in Tampa, so he had a big game problem. I don't know that Garrett Cole has a big game problem, because I agree with you, Logan. His hamstring was not healthy in the wild card game last year, but he has
a body of work in the playoffs though. That's very good. I mean, he struck out 12 or 14 Guardians in the 2020 playoffs. He pitched on short rest in Game 5 against the Rays and pitched well. Gave up 1 run in just about 6 innings.
He hasn't done it with the Yankees yet, though, and he was not.
Well, that was with the Yankees. That was with the Yankees in 2020, and that was 2020. He had a great playoffs for the Yankees, and now everybody's going to say, well, sticky stuff. And okay, so he had 1 start post sticky stuff in the playoffs, so we're going to judge him on 3 innings. That doesn't seem fair.
No, what people are judging him on is the fact that since the sticky stuff, he's been a good, not a great pitcher. They're not paying him to be a good pitcher.
100%.
And you look at his line from Friday night: 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs. That's essentially been his line every single start in the second half. 5+ innings, 3 or 4 runs, which is where his ERA has netted out this season, about 3.5. That's not good enough in the playoffs. No. You can't pitch 6 innings and give up 4 runs in game 1 of the postseason or game 4 of the postseason, especially if you're facing Castillo on the other side for the Mariners or something like that. I mean, you're not going to score 5 runs off of him.
No, 100%. And I mean, if you go, I was looking because I'm Garrett Cole stan and I need to have resources to fire at people. If you look this season, and people don't do this, at his starts again. So he he had a 3.12 ERA against teams over 500. And if you dig a little deeper, he went 7 innings of 1 run against the Astros. Okay, that's a good team. He had the blow-up start at home against Seattle, and then went out to Seattle and matched Castillo, 7 shutout innings. His ERA in 3 starts against the Rays is under 1.5. Even against the Blue Jays, he has been more mediocre, but not absolutely terrible. I mean, when you look at his starts and he's pitched against the Blue Jays, I think 4 or 5 times this year. So that's a lot. Like, we always talk about when a team sees the pitcher. So, I mean, a big game problem. Everybody says, well, he never steps up big. Every time that the Yankees need a start, he never comes up. It's like, well, it's only noticed when he doesn't show up. When he does show up, then nobody talks about it. It's like it's just like anything else in this sport. I understand, but he's the game 1 starter, and I hope to God for my own sake that he shoves in the playoffs, because if not, I have to eat crow and own me being a Garrett Cole stan.
That's what comes with the territory when you're making $36 million a year, Ilya.
100%. 100%.
It's that people are going to, you have 30 good starts in a row, and if your playoff start is not good, it doesn't matter what you did in the regular season. And that's we keep going back to that pressure is a privilege. Okay, start acting like it's a privilege, right?
Yeah, this postseason I think is going to be really, really important for him. And you guys are right. You can't not start him game 1. That's just, it's the makeup of the team. You look at the roster and the contracts. If you don't start Garrett Cole game 1, but he's still starting later in that series, you're walking into that series showing the team like one of our strengths is our weakness. You're just admitting it right off the bat. So you got to give him the chance to go out there and shove. And hopefully he does. If he doesn't come through in these playoffs, I think it's going to affect what happens this offseason. Obviously, we're not getting him off the books. He's not done. But we need another reliable lockdown arm in there, and we don't really have it.
You're right. Is that because you've got realistically after this year, probably 2 more postseason runs where you can call Garrett Cole one of the best elite pitchers in baseball. Now he might have a Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer late part of his 30s, but you can't assume that's going to happen. Yeah. So you paid Garrett Cole for 9 years for the first half of that contract, hopefully winning championships. So he's going to run out of opportunities if it doesn't happen this year, Logan.
100%. And I mean, I saw someone tweeting about CC in 2009, and CC really didn't have a great 2009, especially early. I mean, he struggled early and kind of picked up steam as it went on. And obviously CC's remembered as this great pitcher for the Yankees, and he was. I mean, I love CC just as much as the next guy. And he because he went out in 2009 and he shoved and they won, and that's all that matters. I mean, literally it didn't matter. So if Cole goes out this postseason and shoves, nobody's going to remember this season. Nobody's going to remember that he gave up 31 home runs. Nobody's going to remember what happens after this, in all honesty, in a lot of ways. I mean, look, the Yankees won in CC's first year and didn't win again. And nobody looks at that contract and goes, damn, CC stunk because they didn't win again. Because that's just not how things are graded. And, CC had more blow-up starts in 2009 than Cole did, which is crazy to think about. And, and people still remember him the way they remember him. So, it can all be changed. And let's be honest, I know you guys don't feel confident. If they play the Mariners and in game 1, Cole goes 8 shutout innings and strikes out 14, your confidence level completely changed going into his next start. You feel like on top of the world about Garrett Cole. And that's what it comes down to.
And another unfair situation that Garrett Cole is dealing with and any pitcher is dealing with, if in game 1 against the Mariners, he pitches 7 shutout innings or 8 shutout innings, but Castillo, if that's who they're facing in the Mariners, out pitches him by 1 pitch, people aren't going to remember the 7 shutout innings or the 7 innings 1 run if the Yankees lose 1-0. And that, unfortunately, that's the territory that you come with, right? That's 100%. Not what Nestor Cortez or Luis Severino or Jameson Taillon or any other Yankee starter is facing, because they're not being paid $36 million. They did not sign the richest pitcher contract in Major League Baseball history.
It's also happening too often. This isn't like, an ace pitcher is going out there and giving up 2 or 3 bad starts throughout the year. And it's like, it is what it is. It feels like it's every other game. There's something. He's not at the point to me where one good start brings my confidence back up. I need 2 or 3 in a row of it. They don't have to be 8 shutout, all 3, but I can't have 8 shutout and then 4 runs in 3 innings the next game.
No, 100%. But that's playoff baseball with that confidence level. Now, luckily for Cole in the ALDS, he's not going to have to face Castillo more than likely because they're going to be coming out of a wild card game, which honestly puts more pressure on him because now you have to win. Right. Now, when they're throwing their 4 starter or their 3 starter, whoever it might be, it would they're probably not going to be able to start.
Castillo would face probably Cortez in game 2 because that would line up for, obviously depending on how that first series for I guess we're just assuming the Mariners are going to win. Well, I mean, the Mariners have the longest playoff drought in Major League Baseball history. So don't pencil them in for anything. Okay.
Look, but, they scare me though. Like the fact, like you see Seattle rocking now and like, they're going to be at a disadvantage playing in a wild card game, having to travel to Cleveland, play 2 or 3 games in Cleveland, and then travel to New York and travel home and travel back. And, that stuff wears on a team, even though they would tell you it didn't. And, but it's like, they're not going to he's probably not going to face their best pitcher or their second best pitcher, which I guess would probably be Robbie Ray or whoever it might be. They might be facing a Logan Gilbert or a Kirby in game 1 against Cole. And now it's like, well, Cole, you have to shove because you need this game. You can't go down 0-1 and then have Castillo sitting on the other end.
Right. If Garrett Cole pitches 6 1/3 innings and 4 runs against Logan Gilbert or whatever, it's like, come on, man. That's not. It's just not good enough. And the umpire, him yelling at the umpire, like he knew he was done in that game regardless. So the ejection meant nothing for the game itself. He was just expressing his frustration. That just annoyed me more though, because again, I go back, it was not a strike. You made a bad pitch on the next pitch. Like, don't do that. And then we get the umpire report after the game, and Brian Knight actually favored the Yankees overall in this game. The most impactful call of the game was the missed strike on Almonte from Loaizaga that they called a strike that was even lower than the one that was called a ball from Garrett Cole. The one that Garrett Cole was complaining about wasn't in the top 3 most impactful missed calls in the game. And because it wasn't a missed call. And I think after the game, I saw a quote where Cole said, well, there was a bunch of 50-50 balls that didn't go my way or something like that. Okay, fine. You can't let that ruin a start, which otherwise would have been a good start. You can't give up a 3-run home run in that situation. And that's my point. That's why I don't even know, Logan, Ilya, what number you said confidence level. My confidence level in a Garrett Cole playoff start can't be more than a 6. It can't. It's not higher than a 6. And it should be a 9.5. Okay. It should be a 10. And it's a 6.
I think a 6. I think a 6 is high right now. I honestly think it's a toss up.
That's basically what I'm saying, right? I didn't want to say 50-50 because I do have slightly more confidence than 50-50 in him, but it's slightly in our favor when he's on the mound.
And I think what you were saying, where it should be a 9 or a 10, I think because of that, it brings it down even lower for me. I'm like, I shouldn't have to think about this.
Yeah. And so the rotation behind him, obviously, is going to be Nestor Cortez at Severino's first start. I know you guys talked about it on the last episode. His first start back was encouraging. Assuming he does not have anything catastrophic happen from here on out, he would probably line up number 3. And then you got to go probably Tyone number 4, right?
Yeah, Tyone seems like the guy, especially after the start he just had. And if he can string together a few more solid starts, I'd say you got to give it to Tyone. What they've done in the past with the openers kind of scares me, and the whole Montas stuff.
Yeah, we did get a couple of updates on some of that stuff. So we'll talk about that. And we'll do so while reminding everyone about WynnBET, which is live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. They bring the excitement of the Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $50 and win $200 using code XBlueWire. I mean, right now is probably the best time to be betting on sports with football back and the baseball playoffs right around the corner. So go check out WynnBET. So they Montas is scheduled to start throwing on September 30th, which probably doesn't leave enough time to get him stretched back out. And Boone said that he could make an impact in the bullpen. So your fear of an opening situation might be real, where they do something with it could be Severino Montas, Tyone Montas, Herman could factor in there in some way.
You could even see them do like a Clark and with a Montas, get a starter that's there. Kind of, it's when they did the Davy J. Happ. It wouldn't shock me.
Well, here's why it's even probably more likely is because of the off day situation we talked about, where if Garrett Cole pitches game 4 on regular rest, then you're facing a short rest, pitching a short rest starter on game 5 or doing some sort of opener bullpen stuff.
It feels like they're totally leaving themselves open for game 5, Montas to start, and then possibly like a Nestor on short rest to piggyback him, because they know that Nestor can come out of the bullpen. Obviously, they have Herman out there and Schmidt. They have some good pieces in the bullpen, and they would kind of tell you that they would probably go game script, but like they can use Montas for 40 to 50 pitches, and then yank him and put Nestor in, or if he runs into trouble, pull him in the first and go to another lower leverage, a Litke or someone along those lines to get out of the inning and then go straight to Nestor there. It just feels like that quote from Boone is exactly for that situation, because they're going to go. They're going to go Cole in game 1. They're going to go Nestor in game 2. They're going to go Severino in game 3. They're probably going to go Cole in game 4, and then in a game 5 situation, it's either they have to go. They don't really have another option other than a pitcher on short rest, or they can go Tyone in game 4 and Cole in game 5. But like we said before, like, why does that make any sense? Like, it doesn't.
Well, if you're up 2-1 after game 3, you could
maybe you do it.
Make an argument that we will pitch Tyone plus opener situation game 4 to try and close it out, which then lines us up nicely to start Garrett Cole in the ALCS on more than enough rest. And in worst case scenario, we've got Garrett Cole at home. Like, they'd fly him back, right? Like, he's not taking the red eye with everyone else. He's taking a first class, business class flight that morning. He's sitting comfy on his couch watching the game from Greenwich, Connecticut. So I think that's a scenario that could happen.
It just feels like that's like them trying to like plan for something that they're not even at yet, though. Like, okay, now you lose. Now he pitches game 5, and then you lose game 5. It's gonna be like, well, why didn't you start?
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to win that game.
It's like 2020. I mean, look, in 2020, I hate talking about that ALDS, because at the end of the day, you had Cole on the mound in game 5. I know he was on short rest, but like, I'll take my chances. They lost 2-1. It is what it is. But like, that series was like totally like they won game 1 handedly, and then they go and they do the Davy J. Happ, and then they have to have Tanaka start game 3, which, if anything, Tanaka should have started game 2. I don't know why they saved Tanaka for game 3. And then you had Monty start, who they really didn't want to start. They should have used Monty instead of like how many second guesses? Like, I just rambled like 5 in 30 seconds. You're just opening yourself up for
of course
all
you are.
Of those.
Of course you are. What you and the reason is starting Garrett Cole regular rest for game 4, even if he sucks, you're like, well, you can not question that because it's his regular rest. Like,
right.
It's not
a second guessable
so I agree with you.
Thing.
It's not second guessable is the way to put it. Yeah. But then the risk is you're facing a situation in game 5, winner take all, which is already all hands on deck, where you're not putting your best foot forward because of the fact that your ace pitcher already pitched and your number 2 pitcher's on short rest, and you're doing bullpen stuff. Why are we automatically saying Frankie Montas deserves a bullpen role?
He doesn't. He doesn't deserve to be on the roster when you really think about it. Right. There are guys that deserve it more than him. But at the end of the day, we went on and on for months about how this was the most important deadline of Brian Cashman's career. And none of the players that he acquired, none of the impact players. I know the bullpen pieces are big, but his supposed to be number 2 starter and his starting left fielder that he replaced Gallo with are both not going to play.
Right.
And we really don't feel that terrible about it when you think about it.
Well, I mean, I would love for a healthy Benintendi to be in the lineup, but if Frankie Montas isn't on the roster, I'm not losing any sleep over that.
Right. But at the end of the day, I mean, if they win a World Series, more than likely it's not going to be because of Benintendi or Montas, and that means that the whole deadline where we talked about for months how important it was really wasn't that important.
Yeah, if you put it that way. But then if they don't succeed in the playoffs and they're a starting pitcher short or a left fielder short,
100%.
then you look back at the deadline and say, well,
but how do you plan for Benintendi to get hurt like that?
No, you can't plan for the Benintendi injury. It was a freak injury. Like, you can't blame Cashman for that. He wasn't great before the injury, but like, he was starting to play better.
Oh yeah.
The Montas thing though, Ilya, is what everyone will second guess and should second guess because it has not worked out. And the more we learn, the more we come to understand he probably wasn't even fully healthy.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys. Who'd you rather have starting in left field in the playoffs right now, Oswaldo or Benintendi?
We're to assume Benintendi is healthy. It's got
if they were both healthy, who do you want?
Benintendi.
Really?
100%.
Yes, really.
Okay.
Benintendi's an all-star player. Okay, like yes, it's Benintendi.
Keep Oswaldo in the lineup and stick him at shortstop. Then you get me excited.
Oswaldo should and has I've loved what Oswaldo has done. He's come up with now some big home runs, which was not expected. He seems to be gaining confidence at the plate, and I have confidence that they can put him in different positions in the field, and he'll make good plays. But if everyone else is healthy, he doesn't deserve to start. Let's not go crazy here.
I think he's got the bat to ball skills. Oswaldo, obviously, Benintendi does too. Benintendi doesn't have. I think Oswaldo has a little more pop, which I like for the playoffs. Obviously, Benintendi's a great defender.
That's the whole key to the situation right there. I mean, when Benintendi was making some of those plays in left field, I was like, damn, it feels so good to have a left fielder. I know I've said that before. And not sticking a Joey Gallo, who's a right fielder in left field, not sticking Stanton in left field, not sticking whoever they decided to stick in left field that wasn't a left fielder. Like, this guy knows how to play left field, knows the angles, knows how to play a big left field. And it was awesome because now you have, think of that outfield, Benintendi, Bader, Judge. That's
awesome.
Top defensively, if you ask me.
Elite defensive outfield. And then talking about past postseasons where the defense has been such a question mark, starting with Gary Sanchez behind the plate. Don't have that to worry about this year with Trevino.
Who shall not be named
behind the plate. Rizzo is full confidence at first base. Glaber at second base. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
IKF. The easy plays, like the four hoppers to shortstop, hold your breath. But the plays in the hole, he's going to make a good play. Donaldson's been great at third base. Who knows if DJ LeMahieu is back and healthy? Doesn't really sound all that likely. I think we put a quote in here.
It does sound like he's going to give it a shot, though. Yeah, there's a quote in there.
Yeah, so he is resuming baseball activities, and his condition has improved, and he could be activated in Toronto. And he was quoted, "Staying as ready as I can without being stupid. I don't think at this point it's really going to go away. It's just stay ready and let them know how I feel." I think if we're dealing with like a 70% DJ LeMahieu, he'll be on the roster, but he's not going to be starting anywhere. And then that outfield defense you just mentioned, that's full confidence in pretty much, if not every position on the field defensively.
Just think about that bench, though, because, we also have some Carpenter quotes in there. If you have DJ and Carpenter to come out off the bench, to pinch hit for, IKF in a big spot or catching in a big spot, Matt Carpenter's quotes are bizarre, but if there's a guy that I could see with no rehab, no anything, walking up to the plate and hitting a home run in a big spot, it's him. So, that bench, look, in the past years, they've had nothing. They had Mike Ford, who didn't have an at-bat since July, pinch hit in Game 5 of the ALDS. That's what we were, used to. The team has changed, and they're very different defensively. There's more depth. There's bench pieces. I mean, I wasn't here for it, as we always talk about, but in the 90s, like, everybody always talks about the role players that came off the bench and, how important they were. And like, it seems like we're trending closer to that.
Yes. The bench players, say the bench is LeMahieu, Carpenter, obviously backup catcher, and Cabrera. All of those players have defined roles, and you could see them, doing something when called upon. I did not mention Aaron Hicks because if Carpenter is back, he might be left off the roster. I guess that would depend on Benintendi. Probably.
Yeah, and likely. I think LeCastro is as much of a lock for the roster as anybody because they love that speed. But he is a guy that can. I know that they won't use him as a defensive replacement because they like him off the bench to run. They did the same thing with Tyler Wade, but they will. If they pinch run for somebody and Oswaldo's in the game, maybe they pinch run for Rizzo. Maybe they move Oswaldo over to first, something like that. You didn't name Marwin Gonzalez. Is he on the roster? They probably put him on the roster.
You end up carrying 5 total bench options. One is the catcher 6. And then 4 because although the no off days, the last 3 days of the division series does change things because it might change what you do in the bullpen. That'll definitely be interesting to see what they decide with the roster.
One thing about the bullpen, though, that's exciting before we move on is they loved in past years to use guys in the playoffs for 2 innings. Like, do you remember how they always would say, "Oh, Britton, come get us 1.2," and Chapman, and they never did it. And this year they're doing it. Holmes pitched 2 innings a couple days ago. Loizaga pitched 2 innings a couple days ago. Like, get these guys. Like, I feel more comfortable saying, Lasagna, go get me 2 innings now. Or Holmes, we need you to go back out for the 10th than I would have if they just did that in the playoffs like they used to.
Well, it's game situations. If Loizaga pitches a clean, easy first inning, you can run him back out there. But you could have a plan for Loizaga to pitch 2 innings, and then he struggles. He throws 26 pitches in the first inning. You're not going to bring him back out. So it's
100%
game dependent. But if you don't even leave open the possibility, and everyone's just a 1 inning guy, right, then you kind of back yourself into a corner where we have our 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th guys, and if these 4 guys don't line up perfectly, we don't win the game.
Yeah. And then if Loizaga comes in, because this is what they would do in the past, play the 7th inning and pitches a 1, 2, 3, 7th on 11 pitches, then you take him out, and the 8th inning guy, call it Britton at the time, Efros this year, struggles. Now you already used Lasagna, where he could have easily pitched that inning, but they wouldn't do that because they, and then in the playoffs, when things wouldn't go as planned, they would have 4 guys available, and they would say, all right, well, we're still going to use our 4 guys, but we're just going to stretch them out now, which they didn't do at all during the regular season. So now these guys aren't used to it. Now it's in high pressure situations, and they would struggle in the 2nd inning. We would see it over and over again.
Oh yeah, when things didn't go to plan, Boone, it was like deer in the headlights in the playoffs. How seriously are we taking these Chapman DFA reports? It would frankly surprise me a lot if he gets DFA'd before the end of the season, Ilya.
It's just if he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Yep.
So if we're getting to the end of the season and it's kind of like the Montgomery thing. We didn't think they would trade away Montgomery, trade away pitchers. There's a whole spider web of things with that go into that decision. But if he's not going to be of use in the playoffs, if he doesn't have his control and his command together, if he's not right, they don't want to carry him on the roster.
That I get. But but why are you making that decision on September 25th or September 26th? You make that decision on October 6th.
So the reason would be just with some of these arms, Miguel Castro, and they got some other arms coming back where if they want to give them more of a chance to see what they have, if they know they're not going to be using Chapman.
You've got plenty of opportunities to do that, especially if you lock up the division this week. You've got plenty of opportunities to get guys innings over there.
It becomes a matter of roster. It's a roster issue. 40-man active roster. Getting these injury guys back, they don't have the spots. So if they think Miguel Castro or whoever else, Steven Ridings, can provide more than Chapman, they may. I think that's what it is. It's just a consideration. We got these guys coming back. Do any of them
they've considered it. Fine. Okay. They've considered it. I just think you make that decision after the end of the season, before the playoffs start. You don't make the decision with 10 days to go in the season.
At that point, do you have to DFA him? Can you just leave him off the playoff
No,
roster?
you just leave him off the
It's just
postseason roster, and then he
40
probably
man. 40 man would be the issue, I guess.
Well,
But
they don't need. I don't think anybody would be coming back. I mean, I don't even think Carpenter's on the 40 man on the 60-day IL. Like, I don't think any of these guys would need a corresponding 40 man move. I mean, the problem is though is that when you look at what the postseason roster can be, call it the roster that it is today, but the second that someone else comes back, whether it's a Montas, a LeMahieu, or something, like, you need a spot, and there's not enough spots. Not to mention, like, they're probably going to want a 5-man bench. Like, the bullpen has a lot of guys, and I don't know how I feel about many of the guys, but at the same time, like, they still have a lot of guys that they like. You know, Wandy Peralta's got to come back. You know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. I mean, I'm not arguing that Chapman should be trusted. Like, that's not my argument. I just I think that they will ride it for as long as they can before they make that decision. And maybe they've seen enough, right? Like, maybe they've seen enough, and they're hoping Britton can figure it out. Like, I know his one appearance back wasn't too sharp, but can't really expect a ton out of him from the very beginning. But he doesn't have a lot of time to get right before the playoffs. So you can't just pencil in 2016, 17, 18 Zach Britton into the postseason roster at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They need lefties too is another issue, because call it, you know, Wandy Peralta, but like the way I had it set up, like, Litke's not on the roster, so it's like, all right, Chapman and Britton, and if you leave both of them off, what, you're gonna ride the playoffs with one lefty? Like, that doesn't seem something they would do. They put Stephen Tarpley on the roster a couple years ago.
Yeah, especially because you're not, you know, Cortez isn't going to the bullpen. He's starting, so yeah, it'll be interesting. Last thing I want to talk about is the Harold Reynolds raising everyone's eyebrows, saying on MLB Network that a judge to the Angels trade was, quote, done. I believe that was one of the days that they were cutting in to judge at-bats, and he just sort of dropped that bomb. And then he corrected himself after receiving a very angry phone call from Randy Levine, which I would have loved to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. I can only imagine what Levine was saying. Obviously concerned about the PR hit that it's taking. I'm not saying Harold Reynolds was right and that there was a deal done, but I mean, this has been a conversation with Judge and the Angels since before the 2021 season. So I'm sure there was at least a framework of a trade discussed. That's probably what he was referring to.
Yeah, those things usually don't come out of nowhere. There's got to be something to it. Let's see in 20 years when the details come out, the package comes out,
when the documentary,
someone's book.
Yeah, and so it'll be fun to see if Harold Reynolds. I think Harold Reynolds will probably just keep his mouth shut from here on out. But if any other rumors of that comes out. All right, guys. So what's your prediction for when Judge is hitting the 61st home run?
Tonight. It's Gausman. He loves
Monday
facing
night?
Gausman. He's got like 12 home runs in his career against Gausman or something like that.
The pressure of Yankee Stadium, everyone watching him, everyone only there, like everyone's like sticking through the rain delay, hoping he gets one more at bat.
It just feels like he, I mean, he has come up big moment after big moment this year, and he's going to hit a big home run that helps them clinch the division one of these next couple nights. It just feels like that's what it's going to be. And my end of season prediction is they're ending the season with 99 wins because it is the year of Aaron Judge. So
okay, so 99 wins. How many home runs does Judge finish the season with?
64.
Okay, Ilya.
Yeah, I was at 64 too. I don't think he's going to hit it tonight. I'd give it tomorrow. Let's let him clinch the division, take the weight off his back, and then he can,
What if they lose tonight, though? Then does he hit it tomorrow still?
Yeah, he still hits it tomorrow to help him clinch it. He said, "Here, you guys get a chance, and then I'll. Don't worry, I got it."
He just likes Tuesdays better. Does he win the batting average title?
Yes.
You think he gets?
I think he does. I think the team really, once they clinch the division, once the once the home runs get hit, I think he really like locks in. I think the team rallies around him. It'll be fun. I think he'll carry.
They got Bogarts out a ton.
Yeah.
Just these 4 games. I don't know how many hits he had, but it didn't feel like many.
Well, Judge was obviously, especially against Pittsburgh, he was walking and pitchers were not attacking him, but the Red Sox pitchers attacked him. So they gave him...
Yeah, but he still walked a lot. I mean, Pavetta, like, kudos to him. Like, that guy just came right after him. Like, I mean,
Rich Hill too.
But yeah, you know,
that's the most impressive part. That's the most impressive part, that he's still taking these walks. He's pressing a little bit, but he's still got the discipline on lock.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Scott should be back for next episode, which we might do. We might do, you know, depending on what Judge does, we might do a midweek emergency episode, but definitely after the Toronto series. So we will talk to you guys then.